Picture this. You're sitting in your car after an argument. The air is heavy, your chest is tight, and your mind is replaying the entire conversation over and over. You said something honest, something real. But she didn't hear you. She twisted your words, challenged your tone, questioned your intent. And like most men do, you started explaining. You wanted peace, not war. You wanted to be understood. So you kept talking, trying to justify yourself, clarify your meaning, calm her emotions. But the more you explained, the less she respected you, and that's the moment it hits you. Explaining yourself doesn't build connection, it drains power. Because here's the dark truth no one tells you. The moment you start over-explaining, you shift from being grounded to being guilty, from being a man to being a boy begging for approval, and when a man stops explaining himself, everything changes. You see, we live in an era where men are conditioned to prove their worth constantly. You have to prove you're not toxic, prove you're emotionally aware, prove you're safe, prove you're different. But here's the paradox. The more you try to prove yourself, the less powerful you become. Because masculine energy doesn't explain, it expresses, it decides, it acts. Then it lets silence do the rest. Explanations are for transactions, but leadership, presence, truth, they don't negotiate. Think about lions. A lion doesn't explain his roar, he roars, and the jungle understands, not because of the sound itself, but because of the certainty behind it. And that's the difference between noise and power. Noise tries to convince. Power simply exists. You've probably noticed it in relationships. The moment you start defending your decisions, why you didn't text fast enough, why you need space, why you're focused on your goals, you start leaking masculine energy. Because explaining comes from insecurity. It's a subconscious way of saying, please understand me so I can feel safe again. But real strength isn't about being understood. It's about being centered, even when misunderstood. The psychology behind this runs deep. When you over-explain, your brain enters a state of social submission. You release cortisol, the stress hormone tied to rejection anxiety. You start mirroring the other person's emotions, their anger, their frustration, their fear. And in doing so, you abandon your emotional sovereignty. That's why you walk away from arguments feeling drained. You didn't lose the conversation, you lost your frame. When a man stops explaining himself, he stops fighting for validation and starts protecting his peace. He moves differently. He speaks slower. He listens more. He allows silence to hang in the air like armor, and that's silence. It's not emptiness, it's dominance. Because in that space, the world learns something most people never understand. That calm is the loudest form of confidence. You've been taught that communication solves everything, that you should always talk it out, share your feelings, be transparent. But that's not always true, because sometimes communication is just manipulation disguised as openness. When you explain too much, you hand your emotions to someone else and say, here, take my power. Decide how I should feel. That's not communication. That's emotional outsourcing. Let me tell you something raw. People who truly respect you don't need explanations. They sense your intent in your presence. They feel your integrity in your energy. It's only those who want to control you that demand justification. That's why some people keep asking, why? Not because they don't understand, but because they want to keep you explaining. Because as long as you're explaining, you're submitting. You've seen it in relationships. She says, why didn't you call? You start explaining, I was busy, my phone died, I didn't mean to ignore you. But deep down, you're not clarifying. You're trying to manage her perception of you. You're chasing emotional permission. Now imagine you respond differently. You simply say, I was busy, and then silence. That silence hits different, because it forces reality to settle. It communicates self-respect, boundaries, and authority, all without a word. You see, when a man stops explaining himself, his energy changes. His body language becomes grounded, his eyes steady, his tone slows down. He doesn't seek to be right, he seeks to be real. And people feel that. They may not like it, but they respect it. Because confidence doesn't ask for permission. It simply is. Let's go deeper. Why do men explain themselves so much? Because from childhood, you were taught that your value depends on acceptance. You were rewarded for compliance, punished for defiance. You learned that love is conditional and that peace comes from pleasing. So as an adult, you carry that conditioning into every interaction. You think peace means everyone understands me, but peace actually means I understand myself. And that's enough. That's the psychological shift. It's called frame control, one of the most powerful concepts in behavioral psychology. Your frame is your internal narrative, your sense of truth. Whoever's frame dominates, an interaction controls it. When you over-explain, you step into their frame. You're now reacting to their perception instead of leading with your own. You become a follower in your own life. But when you stay calm and concise, you maintain your frame. You say, "This is my truth, take it or leave it." That's power. And here's what's fascinating. Once you master this, your relationships transform. People start respecting your time. Your words carry more weight. You stop chasing attention, and attention starts chasing you. Because mystery is magnetic. And nothing creates mystery like emotional composure. When you stop explaining, people start wondering. When you stop chasing, people start seeking. When you stop proving, people start believing. It's not arrogance. It's alignment. It's the energy of a man who no longer negotiates his peace. Because the truth is, you don't owe anyone a paragraph to justify your boundaries. You don't owe anyone an essay to prove your worth. You don't owe anyone your energy just because they demand it loudly. If they can't respect your no without an explanation, they were never respecting you. They were respecting their control over you. This is where most men lose themselves in relationships. They start performing instead of leading. They start explaining instead of deciding. And before long, they forget who they are without someone else's approval. But when you stop explaining, Rita, you stop performing. You start living from presence, not performance. You stop chasing clarity and become clarity. You know what happens when you do this? Peace. Real peace. The kind that doesn't come from agreement, but from inner authority. And the world feels it. Women feel it. Friends feel it. Even enemies feel it. Because power isn't loud. It's steady, unmoved, unshaken. There's a psychology principle called mirror neurons. Humans subconsciously mirror the emotional state of the people around them. When you stay calm and unapologetic, others are forced to match your energy or feel the discomfort of their own chaos. That's why silence works. It's not passive, it's pressure. It forces others to confront themselves, and that's what most people fear, not your anger, but your stillness. Here's the truth most men never realize. Explaining yourself isn't about being kind, it's about being afraid. Afraid to be misunderstood, afraid to lose approval, afraid to stand alone. But when you let go of that fear, something shifts inside you. You become untouchable. Because misunderstanding doesn't threaten a grounded man. He knows who he is, he knows his intent, he knows his mission, and he lets time reveal the rest. Imagine this, you're in the middle of an argument. She's emotional, throwing words, questioning your motives. But you don't defend yourself. You simply listen. You nod. You stay calm. Not because you're weak, but because you've mastered your frame. You understand that chaos feeds on reaction, and your silence starves it. That's when the energy shifts. She feels it. The storm slows down, because your stillness reintroduces gravity. That's the essence of masculine power, the ability to remain calm when everything around you demands a reaction. When you stop explaining, you stop reacting. And when you stop reacting, you start leading. That's when respect replaces conflict. That's when peace replaces anxiety. That's when attraction replaces confusion. And yes, not everyone will like this version of you. Some will call you cold. Some will say you've changed. Some will accuse you of being detached. Let them. Because what they're really feeling is the loss of control over you. You're no longer feeding their and no longer performing for approval. You've become self-contained, and that terrifies people who survive on your reactions. This doesn't mean you stop communicating. It means you communicate from power, not permission. You speak when necessary. You act when required. You explain only when it serves clarity, not validation. You learn to let silence speak for you, because silence, in the right frame, says everything. When a man stops explaining himself, his presence expands. His energy becomes mysterious. His boundaries become unshakable. His peace becomes his power. He's no longer afraid of losing people because he's done losing himself. And that's when everything changes. Because in the end, it's not about being understood. It's about being unmoved. It's about standing in your truth, even if no one claps for it. It's about trusting your own voice more than the world's noise. It's about remembering that peace isn't found through explanation. It's found through mastery. So the next time someone demands you explain yourself, pause, breathe, remember who you are. You don't need to defend your truth, you embody it. And when you do, you'll notice something powerful. The world starts rearranging itself around your silence. Because real power doesn't beg to be understood. It simply stands, calm, centered, and free. That's when everything changes.